when the owner has a tax lien certificate sold on their property, well, they can come in and redeem it at any time. However, they're going to have to pay whoever bought the certificate 100% of their investment and a high interest rate. Welcome back. Now, in this episode, we're going to talk about tax lien certificates. Now, that can be a little bit confusing, but I'm going to try to clear that up. And by the time we finish this video, you're going to understand tax lien certificates and tax lien investing. Now, I'll try to get this in about 6 or 7 steps so that you know how to do it.
First tip, Ted, number 1, the process. Ted, can you explain what is a tax lien certificate?
Well, first of all, tax lien certificates are here because the local state legislature has a law in every state. Now, all the states have the same law that property owners must pay their property tax. Now, if they don't pay their property tax, then the state and the local county have a lot of problems. So I've spent about 30 years guiding and teaching people how to learn about tax lien certificates. Now, it's the law in every county in every single one of the states to collect taxes, but about 50% of the states in the United States, about half of the states, actually sell tax lien certificates. I mean, the county sells the tax lien certificate at a public auction, and when the owner has a tax lien certificate sold on their property, well, they can come in and redeem it at any time. However, they're going to have to pay whoever bought the certificate 100% of their investment and a high interest rate. So understand that tax lien certificates are really beneficial for the owner of the property who has the lien against them, and they're beneficial for the people that do the investment. Now, it takes a long time to collect all your money on a tax lien certificate because it's an annualized rate of return. Sometimes it's 17, sometimes it's 18%. We'll talk about that as we go along.
Number 2, reading the rules to the auction. Now, Ted, what information should I be looking for in the auction rules?
Well, folks, when you go to auctions, you have to understand that you're required to know the rules of a tax lien certificate auction or a tax deed auction. So you need to learn the rules. You can get those on the county website. You can look up in the statutes of the state. You can look up on the auction list. There's lots of places to learn them, but you want to make sure you know the rules for the auction, because once you purchase a property, you're going to own it until such time as the property owner who had the tax lien certificate comes in and pays you, or you end up with the property. But you definitely have to know the rules at the auction.
Number 3, the budget. What's the right approach to creating a budget for the auction, Ted? I mean, do you recommend, putting all your money into one property or spreading it over a few properties?
You need to, first of all, pick out the lien on the property that you want to buy the tax lien. And then what you have to do is, do you have enough money to buy that tax lien certificate? You don't want to just go down there and hope you're going to get one. You need to know how much money you're willing to spend, because what you're going to do is you're going to pay someone else's taxes. Now, some of these tax lien certificates are just pennies, $50, $500, or whatever. You're not going to make much money doing that. So I recommend that you invest a few $1,000s. Now, know what you're going to buy, understand how much money you're going to invest before you get to the auction.
Number 4, the auction list. Where do you typically find the auction lists?
The easiest place to find the auction list is on the county website. However, the county will also announce and publicize the auction in a local newspaper. So it's not difficult to find, and you're going to find that these lists are sometimes giant. Why don't I take a second and show you one right now? Okay, so this is a list for Tampa, Florida. Now, there's about 30,000 tax lien certificates on this list. Now, what I'm going to do is open it up so that you can see that it's a big newspaper. So it's a giant newspaper like you would buy it on a newsstand or you would get delivered to your house. All right, and they do deliver that to every property owner within the county. All right, now this is not going to show a lot of pictures. What it is going to show is thousands of tax lien certificates. And the county pays money to have this newspaper printed so that everybody knows that these are the properties that are in tax lien certificate default. So if you want to be into tax lien investing, you can get this newspaper. You can also find it on the county website.
Hey, Ted, I got to tell you, there's a lot of properties on that list. So how do you go about narrowing the list down?
Well, if you want to narrow the list down, just do it by how much money that you have. So let's say you had $5,000 to invest some people say, I want to do all of that investment on one. So you want to find a property that had $5,000 worth of taxes. Why? Because you're going to pay for that tax lien certificate, and what you're going to bid on is the interest rate. And the interest rate could go down in some cases, or it could go up on other cases.
All right, Ted, number 5 is the research, the location, the neighborhood. Why is it so important? Why is location so important when you're investing in tax property?
Well, folks, what you're doing here is you're looking at a newspaper. That's kind of sanitary, nothing to worry about here. Now, you're going to pick, in this case, any one of, let's get another one here. Here's another newspaper, all right? It says Daily Record on it, and you can see that there's thousands and thousands of these tax certificates that are available. So you don't want to go to put your finger on your tongue and then go like that. What you want to do is you want to find out, is this property a junker? Has there been a flood? Has there been a fire? Has the property been damaged by the wind? You want to make sure that it's an okay property. Why? Because if the property owner doesn't come in and redeem, that is, pay the tax lien certificate, you're going to get that property.
All right, number 6. Now, the property is one thing, but number 6, what about researching the location and the neighborhood where you're buying the property?
Well, that's really a good question. You know, you really have to think about that, because in real estate, location is what all the real estate brokers will say. What if you bought a tax lien on a mountain property, and the property was on the side of a mountain where it was very difficult to build? Well, if that property's there and someone didn't pay the tax, it's maybe because they couldn't build on it. Well, you probably won't be able to build on it either, so you couldn't sell it. Or what happens in many cases, people go out and buy a tax lien certificate, they've bought the certificate, and now they haven't looked at the property, they haven't looked at the neighborhood. So what if it was a nice property? Maybe they saw a picture of it, but it was in a bad neighborhood. How are you going to sell the property if you get it? So understand, when you raise your hand and buy a tax lien certificate, it's a safe, secure investment if you do your homework. But if you don't know what that property, the location is, or the neighborhood is, you could buy a tax lien certificate that's not valuable. And if the people don't pay it, they don't redeem, you're going to end up with that property.
And finally, number 7, getting ready for the auction. Ted, what advice can you give to the viewers here to be successful when they show up to a tax auction?
If you want to be successful in any auction, you want to do a lot of planning. By that, I mean, you want to go and locate the properties, okay? So all of the properties that are in here, you can look up the property number, and then you can go to a map and find out where that property is. You could drive by and look at it. You could do a Google search on it. You could search our auction calendar. There's any number of ways to find out what that property is. Of course, I always think the best one is either you or someone you know. How about just driving by and maybe walking on the property? All right, now you're going to try to purchase properties for pennies on the dollar. Now, I've had clients, you're going to love this story, I've had clients that invested $11,000 in a tax certificate, and they paid the taxes, and guess what? The people did not come in and redeem. Now, redeem means that that property owner can come back and pay you whatever you paid, so you get all your money back, but you would make interest while the money was invested. All right, but the property owner didn't come back, so they could start a foreclosure process. And I'll make the story short. It's just something the judge has to have a gavel come down on after a decision, but the judge awarded them the property because the people did not pay their tax. So they paid $11,000 for that tax lien certificate, and they sold it, and after commissions, they got $169,000. That was $17 for every dollar they invested. How many times would you like to do that?
Listen, if you have any questions for Ted, just leave it in the comment section below. You will get an answer. And please, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hey, Ted, one more thing. It'd be nice to have a calendar that folks could use to find out when these auctions are happening. Can you help out there?
Yes, it can. Now, right below me, and they'll show it to you as I speak, there's an auction calendar. It'll tell you exactly how many auctions are taking place there. And then you can go into more depth and find out how many properties are being auctioned at that auction. Some states will have as many as 30 or even 50 auctions in the next 90 days. Tax lien certificates, I'm fond of telling people this, they're a safe, secure investment. It's profitable for newcomers. It's protection for the property owners. This really works, but you have to do your homework. Now, tax lien investing has been around for decades, hundreds of years. Each state has its own rules. You have to follow the rules. You need to do research of the county records, the county website, and the auction rules. I'm Ted Thomas.